Hi there, it's Jane here. This time talking to you about the challenge that you did in May for nature. Now, I'm doing it a little bit differently this time and addressing you in person first, and then we will look through the presentation as usual. So I just thought it would be nice, instead of me rambling on for a while at the beginning of the presentation and you're just staring at a screen, I thought it might be nice if I'm looking at you directly. So not made any special effort this evening. Busy, long day as usual. So take me as you find me. Now, each month I say that the images have been extremely strong, and I am to some extent in awe of what you are putting up there for the challenge. So I just want to say that yet again, there's been an amazing set of images submitted, very, very difficult to go through, and I think I ended up choosing well in excess of 30 as my final selection, and couldn't have really whittled it down without feeling that I was being extremely unfair to people who had taken some cracking images. And in the spirit of learning and teaching other people how to take great photographs, I don't think it's in the interests of the group to whittle it down to just a few images to say, okay, these are my favorites, these are my final selection, because I think there's a lot to be learned from all of the ones that I've selected, for people to look at them and say, oh, wow, look what they did there. Look why that works. So bear with me that there are so many. I'm not going to do such a detailed critique on each of them. I will stop and make comments on them as I see fit. I have to say most of them I couldn't improve on. Couldn't make any comments to say, well, if you'd have just cropped it like that or lit it like this or focused in a bit closer or whatever. So I think all of them could grace the pages of a calendar, and it would look beautiful. And I think it's absolutely amazing that during a time when we've been restricted in our movements and mostly photographing from home and within a few miles of where we live, that all of this beauty and wondrous nature was there on our doorsteps for you to go out and capture. And that can be difficult sometimes, can't it? Because we feel like, we're photographing the same old all the time. And it can be hard to spot something new, or to look at something that you see every day in a different light and make it into a beautiful image. So really well done from me on what you've achieved. I mean, it's fantastic. So I thought it might be helpful for everybody to share with you what I was looking for when I went through this set of images. And I'm not going to start with the basics this time. I'm going to start with something that's a little bit more emotional. And the images that I chose are the ones that stopped me in my tracks. As I scrolled through Facebook and scrolled through all the images, because there must have been 100 or more this month, it was the ones that made me stop and take an intake of breath, or to just really appreciate the beauty and sheer magic of our natural world. And there was more often than not an emotional connection as well. So then delving a bit deeper into that, why did those particular images grab me more than others, apart from the fact that there was somehow they were more striking, they made more of an emotional connection with me. So if we kind of follow up on that and look at it in a little bit more detail, more often than not, or I would say in all of them, there is a very strong and striking composition in all of the images. No distractions, just a very stunning subject. Okay, it can be something tiny, it could be something bigger, it could be something very dark, it could be something not structurally fascinating, but just somehow they captured something that just made it look amazing. So clever composition is massive, and it's composition that enhances the subject, really shows it off to its best, and highlights the overall or the overriding message or intention of the image. Now, they can all sound like fancy words. What was your creative intention and what was your message? But make that simpler by saying, well, and we'll do this when we look at the actual images themselves. How did that person feel when they looked at that image? Why did that particular subject stop them in their tracks and make them say, I'm going to take a picture of this. I'm going to take the effort of getting down on my knees or whatever it was that they had to do to get that image. I'm going to set the right camera settings and I'm going to take 5 or 10 minutes out of my busy life to capture this. So there must have been something that they saw that was their intention to convey to you and to me as the viewers of the image. So was it the way that the raindrops sat perfectly, as if nature couldn't possibly have done it, or how petals looked so beautiful, like delicate paper as the light shone through them? So have they done that composition in such a way that their intention, they're wanting to show you that magic, is 100% clear? And I think in all of the images that I've picked, that is the case. I know what the viewer felt, what the photographer felt, and why they were compelled to take that image. Okay, and how they used colour, how they used textures and patterns, what they included, what they didn't include, what was the light like? Was the light captured really well? Does the light further convey the beauty or the intricacy or enhance the simplicity of the image? And how do the shadows work in that image? Okay, and again, to help kind of make this a bit more tangible, we'll look at that as we go through each of the images. So I am going a little bit deeper this time because I think it's really useful, and it excites me. It's exciting to look at photography in this way. It's enjoyable, it's rewarding, it's what we that's why we're all here. I think if we're really genuine about this fabulous hobby or profession or semi-profession, wherever you are on that journey, you know, how do those images make you feel, and how do you convey that? Okay, and then last of all, I was looking for a technically competent image. Okay, I mean, some of it's just taken as read with a lot of the photographers in the group. The image will be sharp, it will be correctly focused where it needs to be, it will have an appropriate or sympathetic depth of field to what they're trying to capture. The shutter speed will be purposely chosen to convey what they were trying to convey, and then it's appropriately edited as well to further convey and enhance that magical, that feeling that they had when they saw that subject. Okay. So in terms of reflecting a little bit, if your image wasn't chosen this time, is there one of these areas, is there something that I've just said then that gels with you and makes you think, yeah, okay, my composition was a bit messy, it wasn't that clear what I was trying to do, and maybe the light wasn't quite right, and maybe it is a bit blurred. A little bit of blurring, tiny bit off. If the overall image is impactful, I've submitted images to clients that have been a tiny bit off on the sharpness of the focus, but the emotion of the image was so strong that I felt that I couldn't not give them that image. Yes, it's down to getting that technical stuff right, because if you're feel technically competent and confident, you will stop worrying about camera settings and you will start thinking more about the creative stuff, all of this stuff that we're talking about, because you're then not so worried about the settings. You know how to do all that bit. It's this other front end stuff that can be harder. Sometimes it just comes straight away. You look at something and you know that the image is going to be absolutely magical, and you just go for it. And that's fantastic when that feeling happens. And it's not always like that. Definitely not. It can be a huge amount of luck in those circumstances as well. But even if it's luck, do you know then how to quickly pick your camera up or your phone and quickly get the most out of that piece of kit, because that's all it is, to capture and convey and communicate what you wanted to. Okay. Now remember that the standard in this group does appear to be very high, and that can be, and it is, but what I don't want that to do is to put people off who have just joined, who feel like they're a bit inexperienced, they've just recently got off auto, or they're still on auto, because some of the people that have been picked into this final selection this week are some of the newer members, some of the people that I know are more inexperienced, some people that are only using their phones. They've perhaps not got any real interest in picking up that piece of kit and getting their head around it and everything, but they've got a great eye and they love capturing images. So please don't be put off by some of the overall standard in the group, because everybody started there, including myself. I shared some images during a tutorial a couple of weeks ago, where I showed some of my images of my daughter when she was a very young baby, and I was firmly on auto with a rubbish little camera. And I think some of them were amazed that, they were my images just 15, 20 years ago. And it was amazing to say, yes, but I've been on this journey and this is what I can do now. And I'm also not saying that it will take you 10 or 20 years to get there. It can, you can get there much faster than that, by hopefully listening to some of these things and taking them on board. So just a little plug for the Love Your Lens Academy, which you may or may not have heard of, but think of it as a boot camp for your photography. If you are a bit stuck and you want to make some big steps forward, get past some particular hurdles, if you're feeling a bit demotivated at the moment and you want to make your photography better, but you're not quite sure where to start, then it could be exactly what you need, where I will work with you much more closely online to help you set goals, to help you understand stuff that's causing a blockage for you at the moment, to critique your images, and to give you regular support. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, contact me and I'll tell you further. I'll tell you more about it. But what's going to happen now is I will look at the images that were submitted for Nature and that I finally selected, and we'll have a quick look through them and a quick critique. Okay. Okay, so we've had a quick chat about the thinking behind why I chose the images that I have done from the many that were submitted into this final selection. And what I'm going to do now is move through quite quickly, but just pull out some of the stuff that I feel makes these individual images work. More often than not, it's the simplicity of the image. There's nothing to distract your eye from this beautiful, cheeky little bird in this image. The diagonal angle of the twig, the cockiness, the attitude of the bird. And I'm sure it was things like that that drew Alan's attention, and that he then took some care to make sure that the angle he was shooting from let him use the the very vivid blue sky behind it, and no distractions whatsoever, just focusing on the beauty of this little bird. The detail in this shot of these bees by Amanda Smith is absolutely fascinating, isn't it? So that's one of the things that draws you straight away to this image. Every hair, every little bit of pollen, watching them, looking at them so close up, actually doing whatever it is they're doing here. Is just, it's like an insight into the natural world, isn't it, that we don't often get to see. So that's one element of this, but the other thing is the colour palette in it is so striking, and again, I'm sure what drew Amanda's eye. So all we've got is the golds and ambers of the bees, which is just incredible, but then we've got this lovely lilac-y purplish tone going through the image as well. So whatever magic trick of light, whatever it is that's causing that, Amanda's seen it and known that that would make an incredible image. And then this very tight crop and very good focus on this front bee here, and I kind of guess I like the story of there being two bees working together here as well. So cracking image, Amanda. I think there's something magical about the macro nature of nature, isn't there? Being able to look at something and see something that we don't normally see. Do you know what I mean? So this shot shows us something that we kind of know exists, but we don't normally see it like this. So just such a simple thing, these water droplets on this leaf, and I love the diagonal composition, and this solid red line almost that goes down through the image here is fantastic as well. And just the colour palette as well. It's just incredible. There's the simplicity. There's nothing that takes your eye away from these water droplets, and it's just so impactful. And it's one of those shots where you go, "Wow, look at that." Amanda, you've got an amazing eye for detail, colour, composition going on here. You know, the focus, the technical ability to get this sharp, the eye to spot it and then to place it where you have done in the frame. Is beautiful. There's a sort of circular movement going on here. There's nothing else to distract you in the background. Focused on exactly the right spot there, and I love the square composition as well. It's a real win-win for me. Thank you, Amanda. When you look through these images, try and express to yourself what the first reaction is as you look at them, the first emotion that you have. And with this image, I feel warmth, I feel how magical the sun is, and I love the way that these bluebells look different to how you'd normally expect them to look. There's just a really sort of warm, magical spring feel to this image, and it's mainly because of the light. It's the detail of the flowers and how beautiful they are, and then it's how Catherine has edited them to reinforce that feeling. It's quite an unusual edit, but it really works. It's kind of sepia, warmish, brownish, but I absolutely love it. Really nice shot, Catherine. I think particularly with nature and macro shots, we love a shot because it's showing us something. I think I've just said this a little bit earlier, that we don't normally see, and we feel like it's a blessing or a special insight, a special thing to be able to see what's going on, and we don't normally get to see it. We'd walk on by, we wouldn't know that this was going on in the undergrowth. So I think there's partly that magic going on here of, wow, look at that, look at these amazing insects. But also the colours really strike me, of the actual dragonflies themselves. And it looks like they're refueling, aeroplanes refueling, doesn't it? But the colours, I mean, look at the colour on this body here, it's fantastic. And the composition is nice, a little bit messy down here, but honestly, with a shot like this, I don't think you can kind of
really worry about that because the magic is all going on in this area here. So maybe, Charlotte, you could have cropped it a little bit. Don't be frightened to do unusual crops. You know, you're not trying to put this in a frame to fit 7x5 or whatever. You're just trying to present it to us, and maybe cutting out some of the mess, cropping across the top and cropping across the bottom might give you a stronger shot. So just have a play with that and see what you think. Totally different kind of shot here. This is more like, you know, if you were flicking through a book on angling or a cookery book, this is the sort of shot you'd find in there. To me, this is really strongly nature. This is a magnificent creature with, you know, the beautiful scales and beautiful colours, and that's what this image says to me. Now, it might say other things to other people, you know, if you don't agree with fishing, but who knows? We don't know whether this fish was thrown back, you know, in that kind of angling sport. So I'm not questioning that, but what I am saying is that I think it's an absolutely magical fish, and you can feel the pride of the fisherman in the way he's presenting this to the camera. So you know the story, you know the emotion the photographer is trying to convey. Focus is absolutely spot on. As a photograph, it works really, really well. So thank you, Charlotte. So with this shot, starting from what did Chris Key see and what did he want to convey, and Chris Key saw the light shining through these delicate gossamer transparent wings and was transfixed by them. And maybe he then saw, I think Chris is a guy, I'm sorry if you're not Chris, maybe he then saw the diagonal composition of the body and then the wings and the diagonal here and the textures and the beautiful light. I'm sure that was one of the first things straight, because the transparency wouldn't work without the light. That's what Chris saw, and that's what Chris wanted to convey. And that's what I mean by looking at what was the intention of the photographer. His intention is clear, and that's what we see. Absolutely stunning and very sort of abstract, and really like the diagonals in it. Again, slightly different twist on nature, but it works for me. The power of nature hitting man-made structures, hitting the, I've seen this somewhere, I can't think where it is. It might be a completely different place. I think it was Cromer where I saw something like this. But these man-made structures, the waves hitting them, the light, and then again, it would be the light that first attracts Chris, the way it's falling on the water, and then how it's shining through as the waves crash against the side. So, and then a lovely clean composition, and very much in Chris's style, where I think he really likes kind of strong man-made structures and lines, but then that interplay of nature here and the force of nature. So I know when we see this kind of shot by David Rumbelow, one of the things we think is, wow, that's clever, but I don't think that's the first thing that hits us. I think the first thing that hits us, again, it might be different for different people because it's all very subjective and personal, isn't it? But I think the first thing that hits us is, wow, isn't nature clever? Not the technique of the photographer, that comes kind of fairly quickly afterwards to say, wow, how did he do that? That is amazing. But I think it's the magic of nature that really comes across, and all these colours reflected in these water drops. And isn't it just beautiful that such a simple thing can look so beautiful? And then David's done exactly the right thing here by only having this in his image and lots of negative space, because it doesn't need anything else. Anything else around this would detract and spoil it. So, and then yes, a clever shot, David. Really, really like it. Well done. I'm sure now that I've said that thing about what was the photographer captivated by and why did they take this shot, it just becomes obvious, doesn't it, that Denise was absolutely in love with the colours of this flower. Absolutely stunning, and then its structure is, and I'm sure, again, the way that she's portrayed it symmetrically and right into the centre of the flower, she was also struck by the beauty of nature's symmetry, the beauty of nature's colours. and then shooting it with raindrops on it just adds that extra dimension. So really beautifully caught, really beautifully composed, a really fill the frame, close crop of that beautiful flower. Now this is one of those images where you could say, okay, technically it's not quite correct. We've got a bit of blurring on the feathers here, maybe the shutter speed wasn't quite fast enough. And it's probably right at the end of a very long zoom. But the emotion to me for this shot was that those birds there, it feels like a dance and it feels like freedom. I think that as this person, Elaine, was probably sitting there in her garden watching this, she was entranced by watching them flying about like this, and the way that they moved and the way how graceful their wings were, and the interaction between the two of them. And that's what I read from that image. Really lovely, Elaine. This is really feels like fine art to me, where Emma Hayes has seen the delicate beauty and colours of these flowers and petals and stamens, and then wanted to turn that into a beautiful piece of fine art, and it works. I really, really like it. The only thing I wasn't sure about Emma was this mark here and these marks. Not sure what they are, but particularly this one here kind of feels like it's you know, it needs to be gone, if you like. It needs to be edited out. Maybe you know what it is, and maybe it was something that was occurring there. But that's the only thing I'd say. But the feel of this image, the softness, the sort of timelessness of it, the delicacy is absolutely spot on. Another shot by Emma, where the light and the interaction between these two birds here is fantastic. I think I've had a chat with her about this image at one point in another discussion, and I think it's the baby and the robins feeding the baby, and I just felt that the light is the thing that strikes me, and how Emma's caught it is just so crisp and clear, and then a lovely moment between these two birds. I think we did talk about at the time how maybe this could be cropped out without sort of, you know, taking anything away from the image, and that maybe that was a little bit of a distraction too. So maybe a thinner crop along the middle, but overall I think it's a really pleasing image, Emma. Another beautiful image by Emma, again fine art type of photograph, where it feels painterly, the simplicity is beautiful. You could see that on the wall, couldn't you? And you can see what attracted Emma to the simplicity of this lone flower and the light coming through it, and then this beautiful, beautiful depth of field. Really lovely, Emma. And I hope you can see why images like this did just stop me in my tracks and make me go, wow. Because the light and the colours and the shapes and the bokeh, the blurring here is just beautiful. So really stunning shot, Emma. Thank you. Really lovely. And then this shot by Emma Kate. I think, well, I love the juxtaposition between the red ladybird and how well Emma's captured it, and then the other colours in the shot. And I love the delicacy and the light falling on all these dandelion seed heads. We see a lot of dandelion seed heads, don't we? So, you know, if you're not careful, it can just be another shot of a dandelion and its parachute type of seed heads. But there was just something about this that it's a lot to do with the ladybird and the juxtaposition of it. So really love it. The only thing, Emma, just watch your exposure. I reckon you could have taken that down very slightly, and then altered the exposure when you edited for the rest of it. So just watch out for burnt out highlights like that one there. But really beautiful. What do you feel when you look at this image? It's just so calm, isn't it? You could just sit there and lose yourself there for quite a long time, couldn't you? And just sit and listen and smell and watch and do nothing else. And that's what I loved about this image. There's beautiful sort of depth to it as well. It feels like a magical spot, magical light, really lovely composition. Your eyes sort of following the water and off to the fence in the background, and just a beautiful, beautiful place, and so well captured, Jane. And another work of art by Janet Pope. Janet, if you haven't printed this and put it on your wall yet, you should do. It's absolutely fascinating. It's the dead skeleton of a leaf, I think you said, but the way you've captured that is just stunning, so abstract. It's kind of symmetrical, which I think I really like, and you've kind of seen that and therefore placed it symmetrically in the frame. And the simplicity, the colours, we look at that and we go, wow, isn't nature amazing? But then isn't Janet amazing for seeing that and capturing it like it is? Really beautiful. So what did Joy see here? Joy saw the magic of ferns before they've uncurled, and what did she also see? This amazing heart shape here, and then she's got the right light falling on it, and she's got this beautiful fern just cropped in the right place here, and this kind of complementary sort of bokeh going on here. And I love this narrow crop, Joy. It's exactly what I was saying. Don't be frightened to crop things in unusual ways. And again, I could see this on a wall somewhere, maybe with, when they do triptychs where they've got sort of like two others on the side or something. I think that's absolutely stunning. Really, really like it. Jude, I don't know how you got this. I really don't. I mean, obviously this has sort of been done in a studio or something, but it is absolutely, again, breathtaking. The simplicity, the light, the detail, the kind of, wow, look at that, look how amazing nature is. And then look how amazing the photographer is to have done this. The symmetrical composition, the detail in it, the colours, the negative space all around it. I mean, it ticks every single box, doesn't it? Now, I know some people are kind of like saying that they preferred nature in its place. I can understand people saying that, but for me, this assignment, this task was all about the beauty of nature, and that is nature just portrayed in a different abstract way, and I absolutely love it, Jude, and I'd love to know how you shot that. If you care to do a bit of a behind the scenes for us on it, that would be wonderful. I'm sure there's a lot of people wondering that as well. Something I've not said yet is that it's becoming clear to me that some of the photographers in the group are definitely developing a style, and that can be quite hard to do. It either kind of comes instinctively and you know what you want to do and a certain type of photography has always appealed to you, or it just evolves as you're going along and you start to realise that you like that kind of shot. And Kelly B has got a style of her own. It is very vivid colours. She's doing a fair amount of processing here, but to me it works. And I mean, again, one of the things that we see here, I mean, I think, is this a stag beetle? I'm not sure, but anyway, this beetle is fantastic, isn't it? The detail, the colours on it, and again, it's this whole fascination with nature. And creatures when they're seen up close. But it's not just that with this image with Kelly, it's all of this beautiful stuff going on in the background. Look at this. The beauty of those ferns, the detail on this here, those curls there, and then this here. And all of this stuff is echoed in this beetle's antlers or whatever they are here, feelers, antennae. I called them antlers because if it is a stag beetle, that's what you'd think about. But it all links together, doesn't it? There's nothing distracting there, and the colours are harmonious. He stands out stark and hard and sharp against the softness of the rest of nature. Sorry, I've just got a bit emotional there, haven't I? But a fantastic shot, Kelly. And with a phone, I think. Let me know. So I said that Kelly's getting a style or has got a style. Kelly looks at things from a slightly different angle and sees the magic in them and then processes in her own ways, making vivid colour, vivid shapes, strong shapes come out. So there you get that in the lacy delicacy of this leaf. I mean, it's a fantastic subject, and I really like the way that she's portrayed it and held it up to the light, and how it's kind of just off symmetrical, and another really strong shot. Another one by Kelly here. again, you'd see this image and you'd know it was one of Kelly's, wouldn't you? Especially after seeing the previous two. So she's definitely got, you've really got, Kelly, a really strong style, and I like it. And I think it's something, you know, you can continue with, and I'm sure it'll evolve over time. Things will change. But I really like the way you look at things from different angles. You're looking at structures and colours and then editing in your own style. So another really strong shot there. Another take on a dandelion seed head by Leanne, and again, it's part of the magic is that we're seeing something close up that we don't normally see, and the structures of it and the details of it. So that's part of the magic, but that's also got to be done well, hasn't it, for it to work? And I love the partial close-up tight crop. So, you know, typically we might put this in the centre, the centre of the seed head might be in the centre of the shot. I love the way it's off to one side. The light through these seed heads is magical, and then just this bit of negative space here, just to draw attention and let the light show and do its work, and then let the delicacy of this structure come through. It's a really, really nicely composed and lit and seen and shot, Leanne. I think this is just one of those shots that makes you go, oh, look at that. And this brood of ducklings with their, oh, I never know which is the mum or the dad anyway. I think that's the mother, isn't it? Because the dad would be more brightly coloured. But it's just this kind of, it's the emotional feel of this shot, I think. And the light is bright, but it works. We've not got harsh shadows. We've not got bright areas. I mean, we can tell, you know, we've got a strong shadow of the bird's beak there, but we've not lost anything in the highlights. So for me, it's a shame about the brown murky water. Not a lot you can do about that. I like the diagonal line, and I really like the sort of emotional attachment that you get with this duckling and this duck and so many little ducklings all kind of cuddled together like that. Lisa, another very competent photographer in the group. This is very fine art, isn't it? It's beautifully styled, beautifully shot, beautifully lit, beautifully edited, and a beautiful flower, or beautiful flowers. One of my favourites, Lisa, peonies, you know, shot in a studio, still life, very skillfully done, and for me it works. That's lovely, Lisa. This is one of those shots where you could say, God, that was luck. And it was to some extent, but Lisa was there waiting, watching. The light was beautiful. She's got the right lens on, she's got the right camera settings, and she's got a cracking eye for knowing just the right moment to take that shot. And for all we know, Lisa took loads, which we all do, and then selected the, you know, the one that was absolutely cracking here. And I just love it. Some of the ducks have got the wings up, geese, sorry. Some have got the wings up, some of them got them down, and the formation is just beautiful. And then all this negative space. Really nicely done, Lisa. Lisa again, magical light, magical detail, nature just being absolutely beautiful. And to me, it is first of all, it's the light that captures me. Then it's the sort of how wonderful is nature, how uplifting is this shot. And it's just the colours on the leaves, the light on the leaves, and the sort of, I don't know, it's quite an unusual composition that Lisa's gone for here, but it really, really works. This sort of sloping little flowers. Tell I'm not very good on the names of flowers. And then this acer or maple or whatever it is here. It's just really, really nice, Lisa. Lovely. Simplicity, colour, how amazing is nature, just kind of all in one picture. I mean, the structures of these flowers is just amazing, isn't it? I couldn't decide whether I felt that this would have been slightly better just off centre a little bit, but I love this lineup of the three of them and these all out of focus allium in the background, just really nicely seen and captured, Louise. As soon as I saw this one, I loved it. How clever and amazing is that? It's like nature has sewn little beads around the edges of the flowers, and even just this bit, the way the water is sitting in those crevices and dips in the leaf. The structure of it is just beautiful. So well spotted, Louise. I think it's just an absolutely magical shot. Just really, really nice. So delicate and clever. And in a very similar vein, Miriam Manners, again, spotting the detail and the beauty and kind of almost like, wow, look how hairy this flower and the stem and everything is. It is fantastic, but it's more than that, isn't it? Because it's then being able to capture that, sorry, in the right light, the right exposure, and not have stuff behind it isn't as easy as you would always think. You know, people could take a picture of this and it could look really messy, and then it takes away from all of the beautiful structure and detail in it. So that's a really nice shot, Miriam. Very nice. This is another one of these shots where it's it's how you feel, how the image instantly makes you feel, isn't it? Calm, appreciating a beautiful sunset. You want to be there. You feel the glow of the sun on your face. You feel how still and calm and beautiful it is, and you want to walk along that path. And that's all I almost need to say about this image. And then that mood and that feeling so well captured, with no distractions, nothing unnecessary in the frame, shot nice and low to get the grass to be silhouetted against that lovely low sun. Lovely, Molly. Change your viewpoint and change the viewpoint of others by doing something unusual, like looking up. I mean, you know, it isn't a new thing at all, but I love the way that Molly's done it in this instant. The way that these trees are all reaching up to the top, and then it's almost like some adults and a little baby there, and then all this beautiful foliage lit like it is in the light. So again, it's light, it's patterns, it's colours, there's nothing disruptive in this image. It all goes together really well, and we've kind of somehow got a bit of movement going on in the centre as well. Glorious poppy here by Ray, but what makes it absolutely magical, I mean, it's magical enough, isn't it, with its colours and its structures and everything, but he's then spotted all these dandelion seed heads trapped in that poppy, and that's what's made the shot magic for him, and it's made it magic for us as well. It's just one of those sort of things where you go, wow, look at that. And then he's captured it in the right way, and you know, just even sort of this one off the edge there just works, and there's nothing distracting that you don't want to see, and it's another one that you could easily imagine framed as a piece of artwork on the wall. Well done, Ray. Am I the only person that wants to smile every time I see this image? Those eyes are all looking at me. So I think that's the kind of emotional connection, the instant thing that happens with me, which is great. But also then it's well captured, isn't it? With no distractions, possibly slightly overexposed here, but I can't really tell too much. Diagonal going through there, lovely, nothing distracting in the background, beautiful colours, it all works. Almost don't want to say any more about that because there's nothing to say. Thank you for making me smile, Sheena. What a beautiful little creature. I wouldn't like it near me. It's like a picture of two halves, this, Thomas, and I really, really like it. And that's what works for it. Contrasts in images add a lot of interest, and this is no doubt an interesting shot. Those beautiful, rich red, green flowers in nice light, and then diagonally across the frame in a kind of a messy, rough, natural diagonal, and then that wonderful sky as well, sort of lots of interest in it, lots of colours, kind of you could see that as a painting, as well as in someone takes that picture and turns it into a watercolour or whatever painting. It takes I think it takes a really good creative eye to spot that kind of thing and to make a picture of it. So I really like it, Thomas. Now I know Tina, and I know she'll be really, really chuffed to have kind of made it into this lineup, if you like. And Tina, it's the simplicity of this image to me is what makes it work. You've absolutely nailed it with the central composition, the light picking out that one stem of grass, and then your bokeh in the background, and just the gold and the very dark greeny black in the background. Absolutely nailed it. So well done. Really, really like that, and a worthy finishing shot. Now I've got a confession to make here. I haven't picked my favourite yet. So because we're doing things slightly differently here, I'm going to leave you all to think about all those shots, and I'm going to have a think, and then I'm going to tell you my favourite at a separate time, because it is not an easy choice, and I have not settled at all on one image yet, and I don't know how I'm going to. So thanks again, everybody. Well done. What a joy to look through those.
Right, hello again. I recorded the previous section last night and was really struggling to choose my favourite image. But it's always good to sleep on these things. And when I woke this morning, I watched the slideshow once again of the wonderful images that were submitted for Nature. And I went through, and in my head I was going, nope, nope, nope. And then I got to 2 and I went, yep, yep. And then I spent a little while considering the 2 images, and then finally got to my favourite. And part of what swayed me was my reaction as I was talking through the images yesterday, how enthusiastic and passionate I sounded as I was talking about this particular image. So I'm going to share the screen with you now and put you out of your misery, if you are in any, or anticipation, or whatever you want to call it. And it's this image. It's this image by Kelly B. And I think I said all of it in the session, in the previous session, but I'll just reiterate some of the points that I was making in when I talked about it before. I mean, this is just such a marvelous capture of a stunning creature. So that's one part of it. Now, what you're looking at here is a screenshot of Kelly's image, and so it's not great resolution. So that's affected it a little bit here. So just bear that in mind. Her original image, I'm sure, will be, absolutely high quality. So, but I think even so, you can still appreciate all of the detail and the beauty in this image. So for me, it's the creature, definitely, but it's the contrast of the creature against the background, and it's not just any old background. It's the beauty of the ferns and the structures and the patterns in the background as well. Now, I can't move my mouse over these areas and you can see them. This doesn't work that way, the thing that I'm recording in, but I want you to look first at the top of the image, the sort of center top and to the right, and the way that those patterns of ferns go fan out that way. The actual leaf that the bug or insect is resting on, the fantastic shapes of that sort of almost mirror the antennae of the beetle as well. And then if you look to the left of the beetle, those sort of curly fronds and the sort of little hairs on that particular plant, and on the spiky sort of main leaf that it's sitting on, are absolutely fantastic. The detail is beautiful. And then again, we have bottom left, we have again another leaf where it's hairy, it's got a sort of sweeping out diagonal pattern, and it's all those elements that to me make it up. So I often say to people, if you've got a fantastic subject set against a fantastic background and you've captured it in great light, you're well on the way to having a really strong image. And that's what Kelly's done here. So that shot of a beetle against a different background would not have been anywhere near as strong as it is. And you've got a lot of contrasts going on, the soft natural fronds of the ferns and all those natural sort of curves and lines and everything, completely set in contrast against that very hard, shiny shell, shiny legs and head of the beetle. So, and contrast works really well in photography to get our interest. and the colour, again, red and green, opposite sides of the colour wheel, which means they go together perfectly. The red is dominant, the greens are recessive and cool, and it is just a perfect pairing of colour. So again, listening to the passion in my voice, I think you'll understand why I've gone for this image. And the other one that was very close second, Amanda Smith, the image of the pink flower and stamens with the fly or the bug hanging off it. So what I'll do is I'll add that in a second at the end of this recording, so that people can see that that one was a very, very close runner up. So thank you very much for watching again, and I'm really looking forward to doing the same process for the images for Square next month.